Something very strange is going on right now for the Toronto Raptors, and specifically RJ Barrett, as this will have long-term implications if it's not fixed over the course of this season, because RJ Barrett's been such a crucial piece. He's been such a star player for the squad, and with the performances of guys like Scottie Barnes tonight, the level that he is performing at now, returning from injury, get a couple games under his belt, I'd imagine the Toronto Raptors aren't hopeful that this rebuild lasts a crazy long period of time, with Scottie Barnes' performances, with the hopes of a Cooper Flagg and Ace Bailey, one of these types of dudes the offseason. But this thing does need to get fixed once the Toronto Raptors are really making those pushes, making those, turning the team around to win. Because, again, we've talked about it a ton on this podcast, on these videos. RJ Barrett has taken that leap, has taken that jump into someone that Raptors fans, NBA fans alike, are taking notice in terms of him being a star caliber player out there in the NBA. And frankly, he's doing it. Like, that's the reality of this team, but there are some crazy discrepancies going on a game-to-game basis. So we'll discuss what's going on with RJ Barrett, what's happening with this Raptors team, and the heartbreaker that this team felt sustained at the heads of the Detroit Pistons last night. So lots of stuff to break down, but once again, I just want to thank everyone. You guys have been crushing it in the comment section. Subscribe to the channel, like the vid. So, just want to express my appreciation. It's, this team has been a little bit dire right now. It's in a tough spot, but I appreciate every single one of you guys on the ride. Make sure you join the bandwagon. Hit on that subscribe button right now. Buy low on this Raptors stock so you don't miss a single thing that's happening with this Toronto Raptors team. But let's dive into the news. Let's dive into what's going on, because something strange is happening right now, specifically with RJ Barrett. Because, again, I said at the jump, he has been a legitimate star player for this team over the course of this season. His stats back it up, averaging 23 points per game, 6 rebounds per night, 6 assists, shooting 33% from the three-point line, but 47% on corner threes. The guy's just 24 years old and is having his really first stint as, the main guy out there on a team. Obviously, Scottie Barnes is there, but he's been in and out of the lineup. But we're just seeing a lot of growth and development from RJ Barrett over the course of the season. So, again, very, very awesome stuff over the course of this year for RJ Barrett. But last night, like we've seen a few times this year, a couple stinkers going on for RJ Barrett, and there's a common theme with these types of games. So, again, 7 of 19 from the field. It wasn't a horrific game by any stretch of the imagination. 17 points, 3 rebounds, 2 assists. For your wing, starting shooting guard, that's solid numbers. But again, they're below RJ's averages, but there's something consistent going on right now. And if you watch the close of this game, a lot of people are throwing this loss specifically on RJ. I don't like doing that type of stuff because, again, it's a team game. Something that happened in the third quarter is just as impactful as, maybe not, but, the close of the game, there were a couple of weird shots, rough shots taken for RJ Barrett, a few turnovers here. Like, RJ Barrett, this wasn't one of his better games of the course of the season. And we're seeing now a big stat get thrown around all over the NBA, or at least Toronto Raptors Reddit, Twitter, but RJ Barrett specifically, the difference in his playing his stats at home versus his stats, away. And over the course of the season, we brought up his season stats, but at home, RJ Barrett is averaging 39 points per game, 7 rebounds, 6 assists, and again, this is still early in the season, smaller sample size, but on the road, he's averaging 18.4 points per game, still doing all the little things, he's still assisting, rebounding, playing with energy, doing different stuff out there on the court, but you can see his percentages especially really take a dip out there playing away from home, and, part of that, obviously, he's playing for Toronto, but that's his hometown, so his numbers are going to get he's more comfortable playing in Toronto, playing at home, playing where he grew up, all that type of stuff, but again, this is a pretty drastic discrepancy, and for sample size, right? For a reference point, why this is, something that is pretty significant. Because again, it's natural for some players to play at home and away, better in different areas. But you look at a guy like Cade Cunningham, numbers are pretty similar. And I'm taking players that are around a similar age to RJ Barrett, and, at the level that we all Raptors fans want him to be at. His stats are fairly similar out on the road and at home. In fact, they're better on the road, which is kind of crazy. LaMelo Ball played a little bit better on the road there. And, Anthony Edwards, right? A guy that's very similar, right? Like, not the crazy discrepancy you see. Again, a little bit more of a sample size because RJ Barrett did deal with some injuries at the start of this year. But it's something that people are taking notice about, with RJ Barrett, his discrepancy with his home and away games. Now, this is something that is kind of common for young teams in general, just to play better at home versus on the road. There's still things you have to work out. I'm sure there's off the court stuff, young guys getting in their rhythm, NBA routine. RJ Barrett's a guy that is a vet, I'd consider now at this point. He has played in the NBA for a fairly long time, I think 4 or 5 seasons now. So he's not one of those rookies by any stretch, but still, just as a team in general, you're going to perform better out there when you're at home, you're comfortable, you're in your sort of, you're sleeping in your own bed versus you out there the hotel travel and things like that. Something you got to get used to as a young team. It's been a tale as old as time out there in the NBA, but it is surprising to see that much of a discrepancy for RJ Barrett. Now, again, I pulled up examples of guys where it's, similar age, where there's similar things going on, but basically he's not the only guy in the NBA where you're seeing discrepancies in home versus away, right? Franz Wagner, putting up better stats out there at home and away versus away, and then Darius Garland, who this season, big discrepancy, right? Like not as big as RJ's, but still they're split. So it's not like completely unheard of for different young players, but the top guys, the guys that we really want RJ Barrett to get to, because again, not to throw shade on Franz Wagner, because I feel like Raptors fans, Magic fans always going at each other, but we want RJ Barrett to be better than Franz Wagner. Like that's kind of where we want it to be, and we know he can be with the performance, the level of production he's been able to put up over the course of the season. So again, this discrepancy, it's something where he looks so good at home, and then I don't want to say he looks bad. 18 points per game is very, very solid for RJ Barrett. If we're looking for any NBA player, but like we want him to be at that Star J level. We want him to be the Maple Mamba. So something that will have to get fixed going forward as this team is looking to get some wins, get some W's, because as I said at the top, right? Obviously the capture the flag, that quest is still there, that the Raptors are getting back at the bottom after having a little 2-game win streak there. No pizza parties just yet over the course of the season, but this team does have talent. Now, obviously, Gradey Dick went down with injury, so more injuries are happening, and then this tank is continuing to push forward. This rebuild's continued to go down, but again, when you have these star level players, RJ Barrett, especially at home, and Scottie Barnes putting up performances like he did last night, right? 31 points, 14 rebounds, 7 assists for Scottie Barnes. This team is going to be pretty solid, moving forward. Again, 12 of 26 shooting from the field. I've seen some people criticize Scottie Barnes a ton, as anyone that's given the keys to a franchise, they get that criticism. But again, I thought he played with a lot. He's been playing with a ton of energy, ton of focus, ton of passion over the course of this season. And it didn't lead to a W against the Detroit Pistons, but definitely looking more and more comfortable returning from that, orbital injury. Takes you a few games when you're out for a stretch to really get back in your rhythm, get back into the mix. And I thought Scottie Barnes looked really, really good last night. Jakob Poeltl's come back down to earth a little bit. 8 points, 11 rebounds, 2 assists. 4 of 11 shooting. Jalen Durham was pretty solid out there on the defensive end. Davion Mitchell was back in the starting lineup in last night's game, obviously with Gradey Dick out, but still is not able to find his rhythm, especially as a 3-point shooter, which has been interesting because he's a very good shooter for the Kings last season. Ochai Agbaji, tough game for him. The Tony Snell, at least scoring line, he did get assist, a rebound, a steal. So no, I won't throw out those allegations, the Tony Snell allegations, but I did have another game winner scored on him last night, which just sucks to see. But the one positive that was beyond Scottie Barnes is the bench had a pretty solid game. And this is something that has been, consideration, a thing that has been Achilles' heel for the Toronto Raptors for a large chunk of this year. But Jamal Shead is starting to hit a few more threes. I mentioned this after the end of the last one, but Shead, his defense, he's working through some stuff, right? It felt like there was a little rookie wall. People started to adjusting to Jonathan Mopo and Jamal Shead, but over recent games, both those guys have looked very, very solid, playing out there for the Raptors. So good stuff there. Jamison Battle is, I like that he got some run because he didn't get a lot of opportunities in the previous game, for the Toronto Raptors. But, coming out, getting 22 minutes of action last night, scored around the bucket. His 3-point shot isn't going in as consistently as it, we thought it would, after preseason. But, 9 points, 4 rebounds. Very happy with our other rook, Jamison Battle. Fernando caught some run. He's getting some minutes out there, finished around the basket, returning from injury. And Chris Boucher had a solid Chris Boucher game. A couple weird shots, a couple of, bad stickers and, fading away. I think he had an air ball kind of early in this one, but I don't know. Chris Boucher, solid performance. I'm happy with his production off the bench. But overall, not stressing about the wins and losses. Interesting. The things that we worry about over the course of the season is how are these young guys developing? We've been very excited and amped up about the development for RJ Barrett. And frankly, if he can just continue that pressure, continue that, performance out there on the road, he is going to be a proper star player out there in the NBA. But let me know what you guys think in the comment section down below. You guys best think as far as subscribe to the channel if you guys haven't already. Anyways, I'm signing out.